Hey, how's it going everybody? My name is Aryan and today I'm going to be showing you guys my S-Log3 workflow from start to finish. First thing I want to say is that if you're someone who's been working in the industry for like 20 years and you're a professional colorist, this video is probably not for you. This is just for the absolute beginners or people who've been doing this for a little bit and are now wanting to take full advantage of their camera's dynamic range. And this is the spot for you. Again, if you're a professional, you probably know more than I do, so this is not the video for you. First things first, when you're filming S-Log, you want to make sure you overexpose. Ideally, you want to overexpose by 2 stops, but I typically stick to the plus 1.7. So I'll just set my camera to the multi-metering setting and I just make sure that number is consistently hitting 1.7. Again, a little bit here and there, like 1.3 is fine, but I really aim for the 1.7. This is the easiest way I've found to get consistent results. Ideally, you would use something like false color or histograms, but again, if you're just starting out, that's not going to make any sense to you. So just 1.7, make sure your metering is hitting that and you'll get very good results. I would say you get at least like 90%, 95% of the results that people are getting with false color or histograms or zebras and stuff like that. So keep it simple, make sure your camera's multimetering is hitting 1.7. Basically what you've done here is that you've given yourself lots of room to push the image down in post because you overexposed by 2 stops. Now you can just push it down by 2 stops in post while keeping the image super clean and not losing any of the highlights. Again, if that makes no sense, that's totally fine. Just make sure you're hitting that 1.7 and your image will be super clean. I've got my laptop here and I've got a bunch of S-Log3 clips loaded up. And essentially, immediately you'll see that they look very flat, very gray. And you could go about it and just grade them manually. Essentially, what you have to do is give it a little bit of an S-curve, bring down the shadows, bring up the highlights, and bump up the saturation. Typically, again, the 135, 140 mark is usually good enough. And that gives you a good starting point, and then you can kind of go from there. You can mess with the contrast here and there, shadows, the whites, the highlights. I personally find that a little too complicated. I am no professional colorist, so I don't do that ever. What I've done instead is I've gone and bought some phantom LUTs. I personally don't have any affiliation with Joel at all. I don't know him, never spoken to him. I did buy the phantom LUTs roughly 2 years ago when I got my A7 IV, and I've just loved them. So there's no affiliate link down below. There's no promo code that I make money off of. This is just a totally unbiased opinion. I love the phantom LUTs for Sony specifically. I've not used any other cameras, but they do offer a bunch of different cameras, even your iPhones, Blackmagic, Panasonic, Arri, everything, DJI. But I personally just go to the Sony option, choose my camera. I'm now shooting with FX3s, so I just choose that one there. And he has 2 different set of LUTs. One, they have the Arri look, and the other one is the film look. And I have both of them, and you could buy a combined pack of both for $79 US. Totally worth the money. This has saved me so much time that I would have honestly paid double that for these LUTs. They're absolutely fantastic, so I do highly recommend them. But if you just wanted to go with one or the other, I would definitely go with the Arri look because it has this LUT called Neutral, which is essentially just converting S-Log3 into Rec 709, but it's giving it the Arri look, as he likes to call it. Basically what that means is that it looks good and there's no creative look applied, so the image is super raw, if you will. So there's no creative liberties that this LUT takes to style your footage, and you can totally just do that by yourself. And you can even stack LUTs on top of each other. Not the phantom LUTs, these are all conversion LUTs, so you can't stack these. But let's say you have another LUT that you really like for creative style, you can put that on top of the neutral LUT and dial in the intensity accordingly. But if you were to just get one, I would recommend the Arri looks pack, so that's $49 US. My personal favorite would be in the film looks pack, and it's the Eastman RM LUT. Not the regular one, but the RM version. And this is a LUT that I've used on like 95% of everything I've shot for my weddings. Honestly, this has the right amount of warmth, the right amount of greens, the skin tones look stunning. I just love this LUT for my wedding videos. So I would recommend getting both if you can swing it, but if not, I think getting the neutral LUT is a little bit of a safer bet because you can always stack LUTs on top or just do a grade on your own with the HSL sliders and come up with a look that way. So we're back in Premiere and I've taken off the adjustments that I did myself, and on this adjustment layer I have neutral already loaded up. Again, this is the standard conversion LUT. And if I just toggle that on, just one click, there's nothing else happening here. And if you just look at it, I think that looks essentially perfect. So that usually is the first step that I do. I'll just drag an adjustment layer on like video layer 10 and I'll put a conversion LUT on there. For me, typically I will do Eastman, not neutral, and I'll show you guys what that looks like here as well. So I'll just choose Eastman. You can see it's a very subtle change, but again, it just boosts those greens a little bit, slightly warmer, and it brings up the oranges as well, so the skin tones look really sharp and really good. So I personally love that look. So I'll just drag Eastman across the entire project, and I'll put it on like layer 10 or something. I'm just gonna leave it on layer 2 for now, and I'm gonna lock the layer. One thing you need to know about a Premiere timeline is that it affects everything from the bottom to the top in that order. So everything that's on video layer 1 is gonna affect my footage first, then 2, then 3, then 4, and it layers on top just like that. And why that matters is that, for example, a shot like this, if I want to bring back some of the highlights, I think this stuff is too overexposed, let's say, and if I go to my adjustment layer where I have my LUT applied, I bring down the exposure there, it doesn't do much since it's already clipped. Because here in this property panel, it's going top to bottom. It's going to do everything in that order that it's laid out. And by just putting the conversion LUT on a separate layer and locking that, so I make sure I can never touch it, now I can just go to the clip itself and bring down the exposure, and look at that. I have all of this detail that comes back right away. Because essentially what that means is that the LUT's being applied to this clip instead of this clip. So essentially I'm bringing the clip's levels down before I apply the conversion LUT and crush them. Because once you crush something, once they hit the absolute white point, there's no bringing them back. So you want to make sure if you want to do any changes to your highlights, they get done before they get crushed by Premiere. Technically, Premiere should be smart enough to figure out that, hey, there's highlight information there already. But unfortunately, it's not. So until they fix that, this is just how we have to do it. So I keep the conversion LUT layer locked, and I can make all of my changes here. Let's say if I want to come down by a full stop, add some contrast, bring down the shadows, and if I'm going for a silhouette look, there you go, I just have that. And this is something you can't do if you're just filming in Rec 709. Because if you're doing that, this is your final image, and all of the changes you're gonna make are gonna look like this. So basically, I think you're just wasting your camera's dynamic range, and by just filming in S-Log and just having this layer on top, it basically is no extra work, and I'm able to make so many changes to the image after the fact. And honestly, all of these changes aren't really necessary. This is if you're trying to stylize the video. Most of the time, the only thing I'm messing with is a little bit of exposure. So for example, I forgot to do plus 1.7 and I did like just a stopover, and I might just kind of push this a little bit by like 0.7 here or something like that. That 90% of the time, that's the only thing I'm touching. Even a shot like this, I could even stop it down here and bring back the sun. See if we can get, you know, proper definition around there. But I don't have to, I can just leave it as is. And in this scenario, I actually like the clip how I exposed it. So this is legitimately just one click and it's done. I personally think that's super handy, super easy, and I would highly recommend you guys invest in a good set of LUTs. Whatever you guys like. I personally enjoy Phantom LUT, so that's what I can recommend. But if you guys have a different set of LUTs that from a different YouTuber that you guys really like, definitely worth it. It makes your life so much easier, and it just makes S-Log just a lot less intimidating, which is the big key here. Basically what I'm getting at is that S-Log, or just log in general, just gives you so much more flexibility, and I highly recommend you guys just try it out and really maximize the potential of your camera. This video is also shot in S-Log and graded with the Phantom LUTs. Just one click, I've applied the neutral LUT to it. No other changes, nothing to the exposure, contrast, blacks, whites, highlights, nothing. This is just what it looks like just with the LUT applied. Filming in log can sound scary when you start thinking about all of these different charts you're supposed to look at, different levels, zebra levels, false color, and honestly, it really doesn't have to. For most people, just expose for 1.7 above 0 and you should be just fine. And if you are filming the next Marvel film, then maybe you need to worry about all the other stuff. For most mortals, this is just fine. And this has been getting the job done for me for a solid 2 years. I use this with my A7 IVs, I use it with my FX3s, and it just works. And honestly, I have no complaints with these LUTs. I use them all the time, and I highly recommend you guys check them out as well. Alright guys, that was it for me today. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, don't forget to leave it a like, subscribe for more videos like this, and I'll see you guys next time.